I'm Reverend Rick, and it is my honor to be with you today. We really hope that this video is a blessing to you. And if it is, please consider making a donation. People watch our videos locally when they cannot necessarily come to church throughout the United States and the world. So please join us and click the link below and make a donation. Thank you, and let this be a blessing to you.
So let's prepare ourselves, putting your hand over your eye, and releasing it. I open my eyes to see the spiritual truth.
I open my eyes to see the spiritual truth.
And with our ears, preparing ourselves, I open my ears to receive the spiritual truth.
I open my ears to receive the spiritual truth.
And then crossing our hands over our heart, breathing in loud. Calling upon our higher wisdom self for insight and revelation. We open our hands. I open my heart to receive the spiritual truth.
I open my heart to receive the spiritual truth.
Yes. Speaker, teacher, writer, and preacher Max Lucado taught about the power of a seed. He wrote, "Want to see a miracle? Try this. Take a seed the size of a freckle. Put it under several inches of dirt. Give it enough water, light, and fertilizer. And get ready. A mountain will be moved. It doesn't matter that the ground is 1,000,000,000 times the weight of the seed. The seed will push it back. Every spring, dreamers around the world plant tiny hopes in overturned soil. And every spring, their hopes press against impossible odds and blossom. Never underestimate the power of a seed." My scripture is from the Bible, and it is the parable of the seed. A parable is a short, simple, fictitious story designed to teach some truth. The parable is found at Matthew 13, verses 31 and 32. Jesus says, "The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed, which a man took and planted in his field. Though it is the smallest of all seeds, yet when it grows, it is the largest of garden plants and becomes a tree, so that birds come and perch in its branches." When you came in today, you were given a little container of mustard seeds. Raise your hand if you need one. Keep your hands up. Can another usher please come help Dave? 2 or 3 ushers? And this is just like the process of gardening. Sometimes you just have to be patient. That's a lot of gardening, isn't it? Yes, I'll tell you this story about a seed. So I have a nephew, and 3 years old, and so I have him come over and we're gonna plant a seed. So, and he's staying with me for the week, so we plant the seed, so the next day he gets up, he runs over and he's looking, and there's nothing there. And so he says, "There's nothing there," and I said, "That's okay, just wait, it's gonna come up." So he accepts that first day. Second day, he wakes up, goes rushing, goes looking, there's nothing there. And I tell him, just be patient. Something will come up. He looks at me this time a little bit more skeptical, but because we are in a relationship, he accepts that. So the third day, he goes, he looks, and there's no seed. Isn't that like us when we do a prayer? We're okay the first day. Second day, we're like, "God, did you hear me?" The third day, we're convinced that something interfered with our prayer and the Lord. So what I want you to do is open up your container and just put one seed into your hand. One seed. And I want you to immediately notice how incredibly small these seeds are. See, if I were to put a mustard seed in my hand right up here, no one in this room would be able to see it, to perceive it. But it would be right here in my hand, yes? It's right there in your hand, yes? Just like you can't see the seed in my hand, is it possible that the kingdom of heaven is so personal, that it requires such intimacy, that you can only perceive it from a first-person experience? See, I could tell you about the seed, about how small it is, about how powerful it is, but your understanding shifted when you held the seed in your hand. All of a sudden, Max Lucado's words took on a whole new depth, a whole new appreciation for that little seed that has within it the capacity and ability to move mountains. Could it be that the nature of the kingdom is something that has to be personally experienced? That you have to seek it out? That it seems so small, even though it's power-packed with intelligence and potentiality, that it seems so seemingly inconsequential to the other realities in your life that you could miss it? That it's present and here for each and every one of us, but we must become aware of it and focus on it. That you can only, in fact, experience it if you put your focused awareness on it, and then it will reveal itself to you. The scientist George Washington Carver, credited with developing over 300 products from the peanut alone, said, fall in love with the thing, and it will reveal its mysteries to you. So to even perceive the kingdom requires you to slow down and then look for it. You could miss it if you're always rushing. You could miss it being distracted, worried about the bills, or your health, or your partner, or your kids. You could miss it in pursuit of money, ambition, or power. And all the while, it's right here, coexisting with the affairs of life, with the everyday mundane, yet it is available if we choose to direct our attention on this other reality. We get so caught up in the affairs of the world that we forget we are spiritual beings, living in a spiritual universe, governed by spiritual law. And as such, all the power of creation operates through the very center of our being. That it's nothing until you call it. That the power of life and death lie in your own tongue. That you were meant to be the head and not the tail. That every single moment you can set a new cause in motion. You simply forget that all the power there is within you right now. Everyone say right now.
Right now.
Did not Jesus say, today thou shalt be with me in paradise? Today implying right now. Not tomorrow, not some far off day, but today, right here, right now, right in this moment, right in this breath. For truly now is all there is. Right now, we live in a sea of intelligence. Right now, a realm of inspiration. Right now, a unified field of unconditional love. Right now, endless beauty and everlasting peace. Right now, an indivisible oneness. See, we are no pie in the sky religion with the belief that our good is somewhere, somehow separate from us. No, we believe that God, that sacred energy in which we live and move and breathe and have our being, that all the good there is in the right now. That all the power there is right here where we are, whenever we find ourselves, whenever we awake to it. We believe that the kingdom of heaven is within us, and that we experience this kingdom to the degree that believe in heaven on earth right here, right now. The Dalai Lama says there are only 2 days in the year that nothing can be done. One is called yesterday, and the other is called tomorrow. He says today is the right day to love, believe, do, and mostly live. So in each moment, we can come to the present and become aware that the kingdom is here now. What is a seed? Seeds are plant structures formed in the cones or flowers of plants. Each seed is basically a copy of the plant it came from. Genetically, it has all the information needed to grow into a complete plant. It consists of an outer coat that surrounds and protects an embryo and a food store. The food store will last until the plant can begin producing its own food. Some seeds need to pass through one or more winters to break dormancy. Others need to be exposed to a wildfire or pass through the gut of an animal before the seed coat will crack open and allow the seedling inside to emerge. Baby plants grow entirely from stored energy until it reaches sunlight. As the seed develops, the embryo always grows upward, and the root always grows downward. Even when the seedling is turned upside down, the plant will right itself. All of this is due to the gravitational pull of the earth. It's fascinating to think that each seed seems to know exactly what the correct conditions are for it to begin to grow. It's incredible the things the universe can do with the seed. How each one contains intelligence, wisdom, prosperity, and multiplication power. See, every idea, dream, or prayer, like the seed, is complete within itself. Every hope, every wish, every dream, every goal, every desire that we are holding in the recesses of our heart contain the potential to produce something amazing. The tiniest little seed you plant can yield enormous fruit. So too with the mustard seed. Jesus said the parable, the kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed that a man took and sowed in his garden and it grew. Where is your garden? In your mind, in your consciousness. First, I thought, oh yeah, I get this. See, Jesus is simply explaining how spiritual law works in your life. Where your attention goes, energy flows. What you focus on expands. Whatever you empower, you attract. As our attention on good expands, so does the good in our life. The more you can perceive of the spiritual reality, the more you will experience it. So we start with the little good, and spiritual law, through attention and intention, makes that good grow. Like that mustard seed that was sown and grew into a bush. Small actions have a great impact. A kind word, a gentle hug, a moment shared, saying, I'm sorry first. We have a video. Can someone get the lights, please? I think that this video illustrates that not only are our actions seeds, it also illustrates that we are God-informed. Theologian Meister Eckhart wrote, pear seeds grow into pear seeds, nut seeds into nut seed trees, and God seed into God. And if we are God's seed, then we must also be complete, having everything we need within us. Our founder, Ernest Holmes, wrote in The Science of Mind, the original life is infinite. It is good. It is filled with peace. It is the essence of purity. It is the ultimate of intelligence. It is a power. It is law. It is life. It is in us, in that inner sanctuary of our own nature, hidden perhaps from objective gaze, nestles the seed, perfection. Oh yes, we are the seed of God. But there's a whole other level to the mustard seed experience. See, the kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed, which a man took and planted. Have you ever been planted? It never occurs to us that the kingdom of heaven is an evolutionary, transformative experience, that we must go down into the ground, enter into a place of darkness, and stay there a while. It never occurs to us that when we pray to be changed at death, to be free of that addiction or out of that relationship or done with our money problems, that we are setting a new cause in motion. It never occurs to us that we are asking to be transformed. And many times we are not. We just want our situation transformed. But part of that mustard seed experience requires the darkness. Ricky Byers-Beckwith wrote about it in one of her songs, It All Fades into God, when she sings, the seed will need the darkness to change into new life. Arthur Adam Smith says, each one of us is like a seed planted by the good gardener so we might grow into something majestic. See, when we don't understand the mustard seed experience, we think that something has gone seriously wrong and that we can change it or stop it or fix it with a prayer. Did you know that when the caterpillar is inside the cocoon becoming the butterfly, the entire structure changes? Everything breaks down into a sort of goo. There's a part of the process where you can no longer identify the caterpillar and the butterfly has not yet come into being. Am I talking to anyone here? Yeah. There's a part of the process where you don't know if up is down or down is up. We think that something has gone completely wrong and that somehow, for some reason, God has forsaken us. No one told us we would have to go through the fire or through some condition that would literally break us open. No, we set off on our journey like Little Red Riding Hood, like Dorothy and the Wiz, like Han Solo on his hero's journey, only to be cast into the darkness. But the darkness is purposeful, for only in the darkness can transformation occur. And transformation requires participation. Can you say that with me? Yeah. Transformation requires participation. This is exactly what happens to my friend and mentor from the Bible in the story of the widow's olive oil. Now, in the Bible story, we are all the characters, or they are all aspects of our consciousness. Elijah is a prophet, and one day he is approached by a widow who tells him that her husband, a former employee of his, has died and left the family in debt. And unless he pays off the debt, the creditors will come and take her 2 sons. Instead of settling her claim, he asks her, what does she have in her house? To which she replies, I have nothing at all, except a small jar of oil. The prophet tells her to go to her neighbors and ask for some empty jars. Then go inside, shut the door, and pour oil into all the jars. And as each one is filled, to set it to one side. She did as instructed, and when she poured the oil never ceased until the last jar was filled. The prophet told her to sell the oil, pay her debts, and there was enough left for her and her 2 sons to live on. See, the widow represents that part of our consciousness that has been dependent upon others to meet our needs. And one day, you find yourself in the dark, in the scary place, alone and seemingly without resources. She represents that part of us that always wants somebody else to fix the problem. That disempowered part that never feels like enough. A consciousness of lack, that I'm not good enough, or smart enough, or educated enough, or thin enough. Someone not aware of their own true power, But Elijah represents your higher consciousness, the transcendent thinker within us all. The part that seeks clarity and requires cooperation of your conscious mind. It asks a question that actually empowers the widow. When he says, what do you have in your house? What do you have in your consciousness? What images are you entertaining? What thoughts are you thinking? Where is your focus? He shifts her from external conditions to a position of internal power. He shifts her from being a reactor to becoming a creator. And that opportunity is always available to you. But she clings to her lack mentality, saying, I have nothing but a little oil. But see, God doesn't need much to do great things. And when I say God, I'm not talking about a God in the sky, but an energy, power, presence, and intelligence. God can use little things. God can use a little boy with 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread. God can use a little yeast to leaven the whole batch of dough. Sometimes all you need is 5 smooth stones. See, the God within you knows that all your transformation requires is what you have and a little bit of faith. In fact, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, nothing shall be impossible to you. 1 seed of faith can change anything. 1 seed of faith can change everything. But the widow couldn't see that what she had was sufficient. She couldn't see that what she had was all she needed. Her dominant thought pattern was stuck on not enough. Am I making sense to anybody up in here? She was so used to her old ways of being, of playing small, of being rescued, that she didn't recognize the power to save herself was in herself. She had the oil the entire time. She just didn't know what to do with it. And we have access to divine substance all the time. And we must learn to use our faith to shape and mold it to meet our every need. See, the miracle of this story is not that she had enough to meet every need and then some. The miracle was the transformation that took place behind closed doors. The miracle was discovering that what she needed, she had within her the entire time. She had to go through the mustard seed experience, alone, afraid, insecure, to emerge transformed and empowered, able to care for herself and her 2 sons forevermore. And the same is true for you. Your blessing is in the seed. There is magic in the seed. There is intelligence in the seed. There is prospering power in the seed. There is multiplication power in the seed. There is healing in the seed. And even when the seedling is turned upside down, your life will right itself. You are surrounded by infinite intelligence, never alone, never separate from God. Amen. Jesus ends the parable by saying, yet when the seed grows, it is the largest of garden plants and becomes a tree, so the birds come and perch in its branches. This is when true unleashing happens, after transformation, where miracles are commonplace and compassion abounds. You become a tree, part of a larger ecology, a contributor to society, having a rightful and purposeful place. Before you felt separate from, apart from, and you begin to recognize your interconnectedness, your oneness with all of life. An anonymous man wrote, when I was a young man, I wanted to change the world. I found it was difficult to change the world, so I tried to change my nation. When I found I couldn't change the nation, I began to focus on my town. I couldn't change the town, and as an older man, I tried to change my family, Do we know where this is going? Now, as an old man, I realize the only thing I can change is myself. And suddenly I realized that if long ago I had changed myself, I could have made an impact on my family. My family and I could have made an impact on our town. Their impact could have changed the nation. And I could indeed have changed the world. The kingdom of heaven is an inside job. And so I have some application points here for you, because we know inspiration without application is hallucination or just plain entertainment. Okay? So, first point, slow down. You'll miss the kingdom when you hurry or worry. Point number 2, use what you have. Like the widow, transformation requires your participation. And number 3, to change the world, change yourself. And so it is.